from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Jesus told his disciples a parable. Can a blind person guide a blind person? Will not both fall into a pit? No disciple is superior to the teacher, but when fully trained, every disciple will be like his teacher. Why do you notice the splinter in your brother's eye, but do not perceive the wooden beam in your own? How can you say to your brother, "Brother, let me remove that splinter in your eye," when you do not even notice the wooden beam in your own eye? You hypocrite! Remove the wooden beam from your eye first, then you will see clearly to remove the splinter in your brother's eye. A good tree does not bear rotten fruit, nor does a rotten tree bear good fruit. For every tree is known by its own fruit. For people do not pick figs from thorn bushes, nor do they gather grapes from brambles. A good person out of the store of goodness in his heart produces good, but an evil person out of a store of evil produces evil. For from the fullness of the heart, the mouth speaks. The Gospel of the Lord. Bulahang Domingo kanatong tanan. Today's gospel reading is a very interesting take into the so-called self-evident teachings of the Lord. In other words, the teachings are basically self-explanatory. Okay? It's not difficult to understand. Not only because it is being worded, no, it is being expressed in words that we can actually perceive and understand, but also because it is based on our personal experience in many different and varied manners. However, before I would like to go to the main reflection of today from the gospel reading, there are things that we have to take into account of certain modifications in our understanding or things that we need to learn from the gospel reading today. First is, when Jesus said, use the word hypocrite, this is the first time that the word hypocrite is actually used by Jesus to the disciples, because this word is usually used by Jesus against the Pharisees and the scribes. So this is one interesting point of the gospel reading today. There is still even more than we can talk about it, but I would like to put it aside for the moment. Now, the second thing that we have to take into account is the very famous expression we always attach to understand gratefulness or thankfulness when we say, "For from the fullness of the heart, the mouth speaks." Diba? Mo na kanunay natong gamiton, labi na ingon kung mapasalamaton kaayo ta, no? If you ask a person to speak in public about what is happening, no? Maingon din siya nga, I can only say one word, but it's not enough because my heart is so full, something like that. But in the context of today's gospel reading, it is not only from the positive point of view, because the heart, where everything comes from, is the seat of everything, both good and evil. That is why if a person, because of his heart or her heart full of gratefulness, cannot even speak, or can speak because of that, it is also from the evil in the heart of a person that a person can also do the exact opposite. Now to the point of our reflection today. One very beautiful aspect in the gospel reading today is noticing the splinter in another person's eye, and as Jesus said, without even bothering to take the wooden beam. No? Which is bigger, the splinter or the wooden beam? Of course, it's the wooden beam. And take note that the one with the wooden beam can see clearly even the small thing that is found in another. And this is something that we have to take into account, because as brothers and sisters, even from the point of view of close relationships, we all see faults and goodness in other people. In fact, when we try to look ourselves into the mirror is just mute. Di man makasulti ng mirror, ng salamin, unless you talk to yourself in the mirror. But what you see only are the physical features of your face or of your body if you have a very wide mirror. But our brothers and sisters, the other person, is an even more powerful mirror, because he does not just speak, but at the same time, it is through the person's actions or even behavior that we sometimes can identify certain things that we do not like in ourselves. I remember in analytical psychology that why do we always, the word is himantay. Why are we so practically touched when a person does this thing or that thing that is not good? No, and we try to criticize, we try to ato abang bantayan. And the reason for that is because this attitude we have been keeping in our lives, in ourselves, and we see it through another. So the very powerful mirror is the other person, the I. Now I remember entering into a restroom in one of the houses of my close friends. I see this picture, very beautiful picture, no, in a CR. Ibabaw sa kanang inodoro. Usaka iring, a cat, facing itself on the mirror. And the wording there is, what is important is how you see yourself in the mirror. And you know what is the picture image in the mirror? As the cat is looking at the mirror, it is a lion. No? You know, sometimes we do it. Actually, we have so many great desires. We can see so many things in our lives, actually. But sometimes we cannot pierce through the image that we see in the mirror because there are things that we keep. But if we try to look to another person, we see the things that we keep inside. That's why the best mirror image are the other people. Because even if they do not speak to us straight or sometimes blatantly, or kanang prangka kaayo nga pagasulti about what we are doing which we are not aware, we can always see that picture image of ourselves in others. And this is what the Lord is trying to tell us. Because sometimes we may be keeping so many things, but when we see each other, we can also recognize what we are hiding. But the most beautiful thing is that it's not just the person, through the person that we see ourselves. Because the other person is the split image of God. It is God actually speaking to us. Sometimes manaway ta, sometimes we criticize, but the criticism is always reflected back to us. And this is how beautiful our relationships are, if we take note of this. And in view of what we're going to enter 3 days from now, as we enter the season of Lent, this is the most beautiful, what we call pathway or threshold, where we can easily understand the message of what the Lord wants for us. What He wants and He wishes for us to recognize, and after recognizing both our strengths and weaknesses, we are able to hold firm into His love and into His forgiving compassion. And this is what it means to be always related as a person and as human beings. And so as we continue with this Eucharistic celebration, thanking the Lord for the many different occasions that we know ourselves better because of other people's reactions, hopefully we also become charitable in trying to mend our ways and in actually thanking God through our brothers and sisters, with whom and for whom and through whom we get to know better ourselves. Amen.